In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hello everyone. Today you will be listening to a Muslim sci-fi writer explain the intensity of life's walk and how is existence an incredible system. The intensity of life's walk is how I have managed to put into words, something I have observed, and it's more of a quality of what is happening. So, the intensity of life's walk suggests what life is, where it is starting from, and based on where it's starting from, what it notices is accompanying it. That means right now we're in a world where the intelligence, visible intelligence, that is great is man, is the human species. We are, you can say, the ones that have noticed more than the other species. And so, with the ability to notice ourself as a position, to notice the world as a position even separate to us, and to notice others as a position separate to us, and then to look at throughout time how this relationship has amplified. So what I mean is that if you look at existence, after some point you'll notice that a lot of it is functioning over repetitive expectation, and it's as if paths of them have been cleared out evolutionarily from before, and we in some sense have come and discovered the tunnels left from before us. Now, based on how you look at the human position, how you look at life, it has different, it has a different output based on how you input reality into your system. And also the consideration of, again, the levels of what you consider yourself to be. You see, I may be speaking in a way that is, capable to be grasped by, let's say, a secular audience, but the way I have come towards religion is one where the game has changed. I thought the meaning of life was success in the world. That's not the case. It's deeper than that. The system has a depth to it. May God forgive our species. It's important to acknowledge reality and the wisdom, let's say the treasures that are revealed in the lifetime. You know, this is an idea. I spoke about it earlier in the talks. I refer to it as inner treasure revealing, you know, from a Buddhist tradition. But more and more, when I look at human life, you know, it's suggested that man is made in God's image. But if you were to look at not the shape of man, but the action of man, the human being is a creature of communication. And when I was younger, I had kind of, religion was in the back of my mind, you know, was more in the sidelines. Because the self was being entertained. You see, the intensity of life is noticing that you are a creature of a certain range of intensity, a certain range of access and ability, and you're somewhere. And believe it or not, the idea of, at least for me, the idea of God becomes very interesting, where you wonder about where it all is. Where is it all taking place? If I asked you to give me an answer that was more than how 8 billion creatures on a rock in the middle of nowhere freaked out and started telling themselves stories, what answer can you give me that is not a concept? You see, we have reached as a species the limits of our expectations. We were never just a material being. There are servers, you know, reality more and more appears video game-like. And when it comes to the video game, it is important to consider that this existential system has a system admin, and I will explain to you what I mean. What does it mean that the world has an owner? So let's take a humanized example and think of the notion. See, it's pretty much you're appearing somewhere, okay, as a being. You find yourself in some position, and the whole thing is about how does intelligence in the human position respond to the intelligence that is the position of everything else happening alongside it. You know, I will give you an exercise right now. Try this out. You're gonna get goosebumps. At some point, okay, whenever you have time to do this. I want at some point for you to, wherever you are, sit down, close your eyes, and wonder about in like in a thousand, let's say in 100-kilometer radius around you, how many human minds are functioning. Like there's so many lives being lived alongside the physical life. But it is not just the physical life, because there is the presence of the soul. Your soul is your relationship with the owner of reality. Do you know what that means? That means it's not about finding truth like a satisfactory result of an equation. You know, it's more that truth is an intelligent interaction with a system that is being administered before we even arrived. So you see what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's not, this is going to sound bizarre. I might be shunned for saying this early in history, but I will say it because the idea is here now. In 2024, a human being is telling all human beings the solution to all problems of reality, establishing a relationship with the Creator. It is rather falling into a chain of command that has been actualized prior to our actualization, prior to our existence. There was an hierarchy. And it's important to acknowledge this because we can't ignore the fact that we were raised in systems of hierarchy. So it's fascinating that we're living on earth in all the ways that we are denying God, right? That means the person's like, no, there is no admin to the world, but hold on, I'm going to go administer my dog, my kids, my assets, my business. Do you understand? It's an administrative system. It's like going into a company. The company already has a culture, has an organizational structure, an organizational chart. So once you understand the organizational structure, then trying to go up a hierarchy that only is your version of it is, you know, is not the, I understood this the hard way, that reality is bigger than how much I got fascinated, how much I got excited for the desire of it. All right, guys, I'm going to relocate. Hang in there. Okay. People are like, this guy's giving a lecture and driving and, traveling. Oh. All right, guys. Stay tuned. I'm just walking to where it's convenient. All right, so pretty much the whole idea is I'm saying that there's a system admin, there's an intelligence here, okay? So we are actually functioning in a system where, think of it this way, its design is under management. So it's like there's a project manager to reality. But the project manager is beyond the project, even could be beyond the project side. All right. Okay. So, you see, I'm an observer of life, just like you. I have wondered about this existence, and there is a level of the surface in regards to design, shape, how things look like. But that's from a static angle. Aside from a static angle, there are angles that are not static. That means there's a dynamic fascination for reality. What happens to the designs and shapes, and then how do they move? So it's kind of like what you see when you're not putting an effort in it, and what you see when you are. The intensity of how many ways reality could be functioning. Like a person can walk into a room with hundreds of people in it, and those people each, it's as if that person instantly animates into some impression they have of that person. And so if just like people go to a museum and they see works of art, and some people like it, some people dislike it. Similarly, we are walking works of art, right? And the intensity of life is in some sense realizing it's a gallery of different structures. It's like there's so many different types of beings. The other day, I was just standing, outside, having a smoke, and I was looking at the ground. And things seem quiet and all this, but when you zoom in, you begin to see every part of the ground is filled with insects. It's just they're living a quiet life. So it's like, it's like when you, from a distance, simple, or up close, oh my God, so much complexity. It's intense, let me tell you why. Because there's so many moments where you don't know what to do. There's so many moments where things are just happening. The energy is going forth. It's as if, imagine a building, it's like has to be made. Let's say a special building. And it doesn't matter like when the funding comes, what comes, it's like it will be made. To me, what's really fascinating about the intensity of life is that it feels like I'm part of this giant design project. Something bigger than my own administration. It's like, the incredible thing about acknowledging a system administrator to reality is that there is a coach. It's that your mind, pretty much, what are the options? I mean, think about it. It's like a crossroads. So one option is, okay, it's like the one option is you're stranded in emptiness, which would be equivalent to like, all right, we're on an island. There's nothing to do aside from the island, and that's it. You see, some human beings are accepting that they are stranded on the island, but there are some who's like, no, what is this? You know, it feels more like a test than some sort of actuality, you know, because of the changes in it, because reality changes. When it changes, the variables change, the value of the whole system changes. That means it's not just incredible designing something that's static, but designing something that is dynamically magnificent. Life is so inclusive, all inclusive, that it's like, to be honest, if all the other species had minds, if all the other species, in whatever type of species, let's say somehow they could have minds and conscious personalities, the amount of laws and regulations and subjective considerations that would be required would be innumerable. That means we're lucky right now on this species. We are just, it's only one species that's kind of like, you know, got a head start compared to the rest. If there were others, imagine like we looked around and we saw like there were lions. People with lion heads, like they evolved from lions, you know, like lions wearing like a suit, or wolves wearing a suit, or penguins wearing bow ties, right? So what I'm telling you is that the intensity is kind of fascinating based on how you look at it. It's intense because, oh my God, rare opportunity, no distractions from other species fighting for their own sovereignty. And right now the human being has been given a perfect workstation. It's as if the world is like has been given to us like Michelangelo, like a what do you call it, slab of stone or something, like a chunk of rock. And Michelangelo, what did he do? He saw the angel in the stone and he set it free. We have to set free the advanced worthiness of humanity, right? I mean, it's boring, guys. It's boring. You know, it's like the other day I was thinking of starting a charity of like for people who are bored of existence because it's not upgrading too soon. It's like, yo, man, how would the donations help? It's like we keep ourselves, you know, in search of novelty. Seriously, guys. It's a very interesting system. It's an incredible system. And the more you observe it, the more the brain has, like the brain has no choice. The brain's like, okay, I'm staring at this angle. I'm looking this way, so might as well connect what I'm seeing. Because the thing is that we have the impression that the human being is bit by bit understanding things. It is not the case. It's actually like you access a server and you get access to that server. You know, I am grateful and very blessed, you know, to be able to give these talks. When I was in Dubai, you know, a friend of mine, you know, had a, what do they call it? Stuttering problem. And it just made me for a moment realize, like, you know, we're blessed, but what we do with the blessing also matters. So, you know, as someone who didn't listen to philosophy in school, but picked it up as a hobby because the mystery of reality's contemplation still stood. I think about the types of interactions possible on Earth. You know, today I was thinking about it, that why isn't there a simple way we can explain it all? Not explain it all, but make sense of it all. And for me, this is what I'm telling myself, at least. This is how I'm looking at it. Think of it this way. You depend, let's say you're someone who's going through a staircase of worship. So you're worshiping different things to see what happens. And let's say in this world you looked at the human being and you're like, okay, the human being that's worshiping. So the human being worships, let's say, others. The person trusts others. And imagine you get betrayed. So the person realizes, all right, seems like there is no way through when I worship others. Then the person says, okay, if I can't trust others, I will trust myself. And so the person starts worshiping themselves. But then soon they will see that's not enough, because you get limited by yourself. So if I worship someone other than me, it's like I'm going into a room and just staying there limited, right? If I worship myself, which is still a worldly form, it's like I've gone in my own room and I'm just waiting there. Do you know, if I worship the world, it's as if I am in some sense waiting for the world to change. But the world is so big that in some sense to worship the world is in some sense bizarre. So in reality, what I'm saying is we are left to a position upon further even philosophical calculation that it's like others can't get you there, yourself can't get you there, the world can't get you there, because all are limited in the world. Most likely you're a being that's seeking a result in the world. Ask yourself, if there was a possibility that this whole world was just one layer of an onion, imagine that the majesty of existence far surpassed what we could access, you know? There's some places that exist yet we do not have access. It is such a remarkable idea, the concept of having access, the concept of having even an authorization to be present to access and experience. You know, the other day, I had a very important question, that just personal question that came up. And a part of me was like, how do I see people now? How do I feel about people? And this might sound bizarre, but it's kind of like realizing it's an inaccurate collaboration. It's an imperfect collaboration with the species. That means too many human beings are haunted by expectations of perfection in an imperfect setting. It's not those expectations are wrong, but what is the power that brings it? You know, when I look at reality, it's just 8 billion, points of attention, human beings, just souls, points of attention. And where is this attention going? Is it going to others? Is it going to itself? Is it going to others? Is it going to there? That's it. It's an attention game, folks. It's like the whole civilization is, we're all cats and they're pointing a laser beam and we're all running after the shiny dot, you know? But in reality, it's far superior. That means imagine the cat stops chasing the light and actually looks at life and realizes that the light is held by the admin. You know what it means to have an admin? It means to have an assurance in the world. It's like the certainty of fathomable certainty. You know, it's kind of bizarre. This is going to be the most bizarre thing. But in my interaction with all people, all the people of this life, when it comes to energetic communication, this is going to sound a little effed up, but it's like people are eating each other. We are consuming the availability of attention. And we don't even think of this idea that life can be way more intense than how it's happening now for the human species, right? There was this video showing the gravity in on different planets, how it would look like. You know, it's like watching the world go forth regardless of your opinion on it. It's so beyond us. How have we been acting like we are the main event of this reality? It's so big, you know? It's like somebody owning a store and being like, I have the biggest store, you know, in the world. To them. But to what is actually there, we don't know. And we must have the capability, the ability to not just want what we want. You know, it's like there's something incredible about life that sometimes I feel the test is like how much of it are you seeing yourself, others, the world, and that which is beyond them. So reality is three-cornered, but in actuality, it's four-cornered. It's so fascinating just to notice that you are designed. Holy shit. We're a creature of design. It's like that scene from Rick and Morty where Morty creates like that science project thing where Rick creates that science project thing for Morty, this robot, and the robot gets consciousness and they ask the robot, what do you do? And the robot asks Rick, like, what is my purpose? And Rick says, you pass the butter. And then the robot asks again, what else is my purpose? You know, and he says, you just pass butter, right? And the robot gets disappointed and Rick says, welcome to the club. As if, yeah, we exist limits so easily. Unnecessary. When we don't know. There is no greater power than realizing you don't know. Because then you have an ability to know. Because if you know the wrong thing, then what do you know? If somebody says, Mr. Within, are you scared of life's intensity? Yeah, I am. It gets really intense. But the idea that there is the host, that I'm not in this world just to just to have been like some fiction in the non-fiction. It's like for me, I'm a conscious, intelligent being. I'm a creature capable of communication. And when I ask myself, what is the most advanced position of being I can communicate? It comes to a position beyond the world, and one of the only systems that give us access to that is religion. Remarkable how it's here. Now, I'm not saying it's a public matter. Your relationship with the system admin is a private matter. It's how you acknowledge the value of where you are. I mean, it could be the same. I mean, like, let's say an atheist, could be like the same, could be as praiseworthy as, let's say, a religious person, but they're just praiseworthy of the possibility. So technically, everybody's praising the possibility of the better. I guess that's a unification point. Anyways. Feeling a little exhausted here. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if the protocol before was to just individualize and become, let's say, a powerful, capable individual, it's seldom that it's like an individual is a world alone by themselves. That means to be the admin of everything means the mind that should not fear the void. And you can try not fearing the void, but when there is a higher power, there is a more sophisticated meaning behind what could happen. Because the notion is like we got to treat this earth, this world we're in, as if it's a lobby of a hotel. Can you imagine that? Imagine like people are in the lobby of the hotel and there's like, where's my room? Where's the room I booked? And the sir's like, sir, here's your room key. You're in the lobby. This is the lobby. Anyways. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Even though I do consider a system admin, it's not that just because God is advancing civilization, man has to do nothing and just be like, all right, the system administrators got this. It's like we are part of this system, and how we perform is important to the whole system. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Thank you for listening. May God forgive mankind and guide man to be fascinated. May God forgive mankind and guide man towards the straight path, towards its unimaginable greatness. You see, there are passages, for example, in the Holy Book that said if everybody stopped sinning, civilization would be wiped out, so there would be sinners, so these sinners could ask for forgiveness, and in asking for forgiveness, they could come into contact with a system admin that has a presence mightier than the imaginable. I am telling you, there is an unimaginable system admin to an imaginable system. If you are bored of the imaginable, your relationship with the unimaginable is what's left. All right, guys, my train's here. Thank you for listening. All praise to God. Glory be to God.